Shelley is here from the library to tell us a little bit more and to talk about how we can grow our readers.
All right. So our Grow Your Reader program, a lot of our early literacy programs we have kind of themed them as Grow Your Readers. We have growing artists and growing scientists and all kinds of things like that. And so it's kind of focused on Every Child Ready to Read, which when it came out was really like research heavy, and it used terms like phonological awareness and just really, really kind of big terms. And so it's kind of evolved since then. And so now, instead of all of these great big terms, we have 5 practices that are the things that we focus on. And they are easy things. And these are the things that we want to do with our little kids to help them get ready to read. And these start at birth or before, for some of them even. So there's reading, talking, writing, singing, playing. I have to count them because I always forget one of them. So I'm actually going to share a presentation that goes through it. And I might stop screen sharing every once in a while because I did pull some books. I'm borrowing them from my daughter. I think we actually still have one library book checked out too that I'm using. But I got quarantined on, I think Sunday was when I found out I was going to be quarantined, so I couldn't grab any extra books from the library. So we're hanging out at home, but fortunately we have lots of books at home. And so I'm fine. So I'm going to pull up the presentation right now. Go ahead and present that so you're not seeing. There we go. All right, so this is the Grow Your Reader presentation. And so we talk a little bit about the research. So children start to develop early literacy skills beginning at birth. And like I said, even a little bit beforehand, you can read to your baby before they're born and they're going to hear those sounds. And it's, when they are born, they're going to recognize the voice and they're going to have positive feelings from that too. Children who begin school with well-developed early literacy skills have greater success learning to read and throughout their school years. So it's just really important to start early and get all of those early literacy skills in. And so the most important skills are decoding and comprehension. So these are our 5 focuses, our practices that you can do. Like I said, reading, writing, talking, playing, and singing. And those are easy things that you can do every day at home. You can do them while you're driving the car, while you're changing diapers, while you're having dinner. And we actually have that, I think, in one of our slides a little bit later. So reading is the most important thing that you can do. And it can be reading anything. And that helps you develop vocabulary and comprehension. So you don't want to, only read board books. I almost pulled out one of our cookbooks too, because that's something that is really important for kids as well. Seeing you reading and then being able to use that in your everyday life is really important as well. So anything that you have around the house, reading mail, reading cookbooks, reading street signs as you're driving. Just anything that you can read to show them that this is all around us and how to recognize it. And when you're using words that are in adult books, that helps with vocabulary. So it doesn't have to, all be, here's the choo-choo. You can say, oh, there's a locomotive, and then explain what that is. And that really helps develop some of those vocabulary words. And helps with comprehension as well. They really understand when you're just reading and reading and reading to them. It develops a love of reading, and it motivates them to want to learn to read. My youngest is 1.5, and she will pull her books out and open them up and sit there going, blah, 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 blah. And that's actually really important because she's learning how to use a book and she's learning what reading is. So even though she can't read the words, she knows what she's doing. And she even will, have some intonation with it because she's heard me read it. And so she hears my voice going up and down and things like that. So what we tell families is you want to keep reading fun, use books and story time to help set routines. So, at bedtime, you can say, okay, we're always going to read 2 books at bedtime. And then this is part of our routine, but you also don't want that to limit it. If your kid walks up to you with a book, you don't want to be like, oh, it's not bedtime yet. We can't read. So you don't want it to limit it, but it can really help set those routines and say, every night before dinner, we're going to read a book to transition from whatever we were playing to calm down and then go to dinner or something like that. Let your child pick out books to read, even if it means reading the same book over and over and over again. And even if it's not your favorite book, I have actually thought about hiding certain books because they're not my favorite to read, but if she picks them, we will read them. And they're good books. They're just, I think there are books that I enjoy more. So, that's okay. And kids who can't sit still, you can read while they're running and playing, while they're sitting in the high chair, while they're taking a bath, and they are listening. Some of my favorite stories to tell parents are, I had a kid who at story time would run circles around the room. He was just running and running and running. He was always doing something. But if I asked a question about the story, he would answer it. So he was still listening, he just needed that movement. So they're still listening and they're still getting a lot of benefit from it, even if they're moving around and wiggling and going all over the place. You can keep them in your diaper bag, you can keep them in the car. We have bathtub books that, they're just the little plastic ones that, can get wet, but you can read anywhere, anytime. And encourage them to read to you or to younger siblings or to pets. And so my oldest will pull out books, and she's lately she's just started doing this where she'll pull out books and she'll have one for herself and give one to her little sister, and they'll sit there and read together, which is pretty cute. And this is a video, I'm actually going to skip it for right now, but it is pretty cute. And it's an older brother reading to his younger brother, which is really fun. So writing is understanding. Writing means knowing that written words or pictures express ideas and events. And what I love about writing is that, for a baby, they can't write. We know that. But it's so much more than that. It starts with scribbling and coloring and learning how to use their hand and how to grip and which hand they use. I've got one kid who immediately was a lefty and one who immediately was a righty. And so just learning what works best for them, how to hold those pencils. You really want to work on that pincher a lot and get those fine motor skills going for them. So even if they're not actually writing, drawing and scribbling is part of it too. They're learning hand-eye coordination, developing the motor skills, learning to identify and drawing shapes, because letters really are shapes. And so if they can recognize shapes, it's the first step in recognizing letters too. So if you can recognize a triangle, an A is basically a triangle. So that's kind of a first step in identifying letters. So here, I love this one. You can see the stages of writing. So this is kind of where my youngest is at. She just scribbles all over because that's what she does, but she's learning how to use it, how to hold it, that it makes a mark and all of those things. Pretty random scribbling, but they can sometimes say what their marks mean. They can scribble all over and be like, that's a dog. And you're like, yeah, it sure. And then it gets a little more controlled. I would say my daughter is probably in these two, because she'll start like doing kind of like wiggly lines and saying that she's writing. And she'll tell me what she's writing, you know, whether it's I love you or something like that. She also makes shapes, and she started making people and things like that. And then they start doing some of those letters. She will actually write, she'll write an E. Her name starts with E. And so she will start to write an E, but it doesn't quite look like, it's almost there. It's almost there, but you know. And then they start using, you know, unrelated letters, letters from their names start appearing, things like that. So that's kind of how writing emerges. Here we go. So what we tell families, allow them to scribble and draw on unlined paper. It doesn't have to be on lines. They can just scribble and draw all over. Really big paper is fun too, because they're working on fine motor skills and gross motor skills and cross body movement, which is really important as well. Point out shapes and letters wherever you are. This one is really good, you know, driving down the street, be like, oh, there's McDonald's, that looks like an M, you know, so you're talking about the shapes and things like that. Use Play-Doh and scissors and glue to build those muscles in your hands. They have to be strong enough to have those fine motors to be able to hold the pencil correctly and things like that. Point out beginning letters and sounds, starting with your child's first name. E is my daughter's favorite letter, and anytime she sees an E, she gets so excited. And then again, strengthening the fingers and the hand muscles with toys that you can squeeze and push and pull. So that Play-Doh is really good, squeezing them, things like that. And a lot of times with really young ones, you think about scissors and you're like, oh, they're too young for scissors, but it really works those muscles, and they don't have to like cut on a line or cut out a shape. A lot of times at story time, I like to say, you know, here's just a strip of paper, just cut, just random little shapes, and then we glue them on and it looks almost like a mosaic. So you can just cut like fringe or tiny little shapes. It doesn't have to be something, but it really helps work those hand muscles. And then down here, write down a story and ask them to draw a picture to illustrate it. So you can tell them a story and then have them draw the picture for it. Where's my book that I pulled this one? Oh, here it is. I pulled, can you guys see me on the side too? Yeah, okay. So Chicka Chicka Boom Boom is a really good one. It goes over all the letters so they can see the shapes, and it's a really good one to point out those shapes. And it's also really fun because they start out with lowercase letters, and then as they fall, and then their grown-ups come and help pick them up. So you've got the uppercase and the lowercase letters, and you can kind of show the difference between those, which is, you know, a good thing for them to recognize too. Right.
I was gonna say, Shelly, there are so our Chicka Chicka Boom Boom came with a CD or a CD that you can listen to in the car. I think that's still like in my dreams. I can hear it because because we listen to it so much. But audiobooks are definitely a favorite for the car. You know, I have a coworker who is an avid audiobook listener, and she listens to them with her kiddos in the car all the time, especially if you're in the car a lot. You're going on a trip, such a great way to do that. There was another one with the reading. Oh, I thought it was surprising. Somebody pointed out to me, this was a couple years ago, but you know, we're always on our phones. So even though we might be reading something, it still just looks like you're on your phone, because you might be reading an article or even a book or, you know, whatever it is, but it's to your kids, it just looks like you're on the phone. So if you have a tangible, real live book that you can open up or a magazine that you can open up, I think that really brings them into like, oh, that is fun. Look at mom, look at dad, look at grandma, whoever it is. You know, they're seeing you on something besides a device. So sometimes that can be really helpful too.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's it's funny that you talk about that. When I do story time, I always start out with the more we get together. And I do 2 verses. I do the more we get together and then the more we read together. And I tell them to show me a book. You can take a book anywhere with you. And then, so I had started telling kids, I was like, maybe it's a magazine or a newspaper, or you could do like this and you're reading on your tablet. Because to them, that's part of reading for them. And they've grown up with that, and that's just normal. And so, but I make sure that I'm saying, you can read on this, you can read a book on your tablet, and pointing out that, that's a way to read as well. So we do try to pull that in some too. Then talking is huge. I mean, kids listen to everything we say, and they pull all of that in, and then they repeat it all back to you, which is sometimes good and sometimes not. But they learn by listening to their parents talk and by joining in conversations. They teach a kid new words and how to express ideas. One of the things that I love right now about my daughter's age, 3.5, is we can have conversations, and she has really big words to tell me how she feels about things. She was so upset the other day, and she said, "I am so sad and disappointed." And I was like, wow, okay. Like, those are big emotions, and those are big words, and good for you. But I know that, through talking and having conversations, she's picked up words like that, and maybe Daniel Tiger too. I mean, he uses big words like that too. But talking and telling stories and stretching conversations are ways that kids learn new information, and they learn that new vocabulary, and other early literacy skills. I mean, like I was saying with choo-choo train and locomotive, they're learning new vocabulary like that. And if you say something like locomotive, you want to then explain it and stretch it and have a conversation with them about it, so that they really learn what that word is. So then we have dialogic reading, which is that's another one of those really big kind of terms that we're like, well, what does that mean? But it really just means having a conversation about what you're reading. And so it's just a dialogue about the book. We use the peer method, which is basically prompt them to say something about the book. I'll read through it and then kind of explain what it actually looks like. Prompt them to say something about the book, evaluate their response, expand on their response, and then repeat it back to make sure that they learned from what you expanded on. So that would be, I know I grabbed one. I don't know which way it was going, but this one will work. You can do it with pretty much any book. So if you have a book that you're looking at, and you can say, oh, here's a penguin and he's painting purple. Where did he get some on himself that it shouldn't be? And so they can say, oh, it's on his nose. And so then, it's not just a yes or no question. You want to ask those where and why and who and things like that. And then expand on that and say, oh, he got it on his nose. What should he do to get it off of his nose? What can he do? And so then they kind of expand on that again, and you just have that conversation with them. So this one, I actually pulled this one for the writing section because all of the penguins are coloring, and you can see all their different scribbles and painting. And then at the end, they made a really beautiful rainbow and flowers for their mom. So I really love that one, but it shows that drawing those pictures is still part of writing. So the dialogic reading is just having a conversation back and forth about what you see in the book, and what they think about the book and how they feel about the book and what they're seeing and things like that. You want to ask questions that are open-ended, that relate the book to their life. So you could say, he got paint on his nose. What do you like to paint? Or would you want to get paint on your nose? What would you do if you got paint on your nose? So relate it back to their life, because it's going to be a little more meaningful for them. Leave a blank at the end of your sentence for the child to fill in. I do that a lot where we'll be reading a book and I just stop and wait for them to fill in the next part of what it is. We've been reading Mercy Watson a lot, and she loves hot buttered toast. And so, we'll get to the point where it's like, Mercy loves, and then I'll wait. And even if my daughter is playing something, she'll go, toast. So you want to wait. And sometimes the waiting takes a long time because their brains are really processing and it takes a little while. And so you have to really wait and stop and be really patient and take your time because they will get it out. It just takes a little while. But then ask questions to help your child recall what you've already read. So you can ask, is this book like another book that we read, or do you remember what happened at the beginning of the book? A really good one with that sequencing would be if you give a mouse a cookie, saying, oh, what did he do first? What did he do next? And so asking those questions about what they've read before. So for the littlest ones, encourage babies to imitate sounds. Even when they're just babbling, that's the beginning of language and the beginning of talking for them. So they can ba, 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 and that's them beginning to learn how to use language. When you're looking at pictures, talk about what you see. Is the baby happy or sad? Asking questions. This one is a really, really good one, especially for the early ones. First 100 words, because you can just say, oh, what's on this page? Where's the truck? Where's the fire truck? And then I know there's one with, oh yeah, myself. You can say, oh, look, is this baby happy or sad? And start talking about some of those, and just imitating sounds. And as they get older, they can start talking about those feelings and the different things that are on there. Let your child use the pictures to help them describe or narrate the story. I've done that with my daughter when, we've read a book a few times, and then I'll let her read the book. And so she goes through the pictures and she tells me what's happening in the pictures, which is really great. If English is not your native language, talk in the language that you know best. They really get the fluency, and that helps them with learning language and comprehension and things like that. It's really important to use the language that you're most comfortable with. They're going to learn the language that you want them to learn or need them to learn in other ways as well, but they're going to learn the fluency and the comprehension and everything by hearing it in the language that you are most fluent in. Again, ask them open-ended questions and allow plenty of time for them to answer. It feels really awkward when you're just sitting there and nothing's happening, but their brains are really trying to work it out and make it happen. And then narrate your day. Especially when my kids were little, I would just tell them everything that I was doing all day long. Just felt like I was talking to myself, but like, oh, we're going to go change your diaper now. And, oh, we're going to read a book and we're going to take a bath. And, oh, we need to throw this in the wash machine now because you spilled stuff all over it. So just narrate everything. You can recap at bedtime and say, oh, do you remember what we did earlier today? What did what was your favorite part of today? What did you have fun doing? So talk about some of those things. And that's just fun too, to hear what they remember from the day.
I was going to say my youngest is 8 and I still find myself narrating my day. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Why am I doing this?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a habit. It will become a habit for you. It's weird at first, but you get into it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Playing is one of the most important. That is how kids learn, is through play. I think it's Mr. Rogers has a quote that, the job of children is to play. And that's how they learn. That's how they make sense of their world. That's how they express themselves and their ideas. It's really a way that they really, really start to learn. They learn about language and the world through different kinds of play. when they pretend, they're getting ready to put meaning to the printed word. So play is just really, really huge. And you can see in the pictures, we've got one who's being a superhero, and we've got someone who's pretending to be a doctor or a vet over here. So it's just so important to learning about their world and experiencing those things. So yeah, play is really huge. So pretend is one of the best ways for children to begin telling stories. And again, that helps with comprehension. They have to know the beginning of the story and the middle of the story and what's going on, and playing pretend helps them tell that story. Building with blocks or pillows or blankets is super fun. And ask them about what they're building. My daughter builds all kinds of things now. She builds zoos and schools and castles, and they all look exactly the same, but she knows exactly what she's building and what all of the people and the animals are doing. And so it's really important for her to be able to tell me what they are, because she knows what they are, and now she can express that as well. Retell stories using puppets or other toys. That's one thing that we did with one of our Mercy Watson books. We had some little play animals and a house, and so she acted out the story of Mercy Watson, this pig, and her mom and dad. Their bed is falling through the floor, and then she's running around, on the ground with all the little animals. And it was really cool to see how much she understands the book and what comprehension she has. So retelling stories and letting them retell the stories. And if halfway through they change the story, that's okay too. And then, when they're really little, lots of tummy time, playing with books and toys and playing peekaboo. Those are all super, super fun. We love those. Even the older kids, I think, still love peekaboo and things like that. So singing, actually, I was going to show one book too for play. This is one of my very favorites. Jan Thomas has really fun books that get kids active and moving and playing while you're reading a book. So this one is Everyone Ready for Fun. And it's, I know we have a couple kids who are watching too. So I'm going to read this one for you guys real quick, okay? Because it's super fun, but you have to stand up for this book. Because this is a standing up book. It's really good. Oh, hey, look, it's Chicken Sofa. You know what a sofa is? Like a couch or a chair. Mm-hmm. Some people call it couch, some people call it sofa. Either way. Flop. 3 cows on that sofa. That's a lot of cows. Is everyone ready for fun? It's time to jump! Jump up and down on Chicken Sofa. Everybody jump up and down on Chicken Sofa. Wait a minute. There's no jumping on my sofa. Do you jump on your couch at home? Is that safe? Maybe not. No. Okay, Chicken, we won't jump on your sofa anymore. Is everyone ready for more fun? More fun? It's time to dance, dance back and forth on Chicken Sofa, dance, dance on Chicken Sofa. What are you doing now? You said not to jump on your sofa. We weren't jumping. We were dancing. It's totally different. Okay, no more dancing. Is everyone ready for even more fun? No more fun. It's time to wiggle, wiggle to and fro on Chicken Sofa. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Enough. There will be no more jumping, dancing, or wiggling on my sofa. Oh, well then, there's only one thing left for us to do. Is everyone ready? It's time to nap. Napping on my sofa? Yes. Good idea. And look at this poor sofa at this point. It has 3 cows and a chicken on it, and it is so flat. I love this book. I love Jan Thomas's books. And this is a really good one that gets those kids moving and makes reading so much fun, and they're playing at the same time. So this one is just a really, really fun one, and I had to sneak it in. So. Singing. A lot of people don't love the way their voice sounds when they sing. Maybe some people really are amazing and they love it. But when you're singing for your kids, they couldn't care less. They just want to hear your voice. And really, little kids, when they sing, I don't think that I sing very well, but they sing way worse. So they don't care. They're just happy to be singing with you. So when I'm in story time, I am singing with them, and we're all just having a blast because it's just fun. And no one has to be perfect at it, so it's okay. The songs are a really natural way to learn about language, and what I love about it is they break down the words into their distinct sounds and syllables, and they slow them down. So if I was talking and I said, twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are, up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky. That's kind of my regular, speed of talking. But if I'm singing it, it's twinkle, twinkle, little star. So you can see that it slows it way down, and you can hear all those different syllables and the sounds that are in there. So singing is really, really important for developing that language and learning about the different parts and the sounds in the words. It slows it down. We pronounce them differently. So it's really, really good for that. It also develops great listening skills. Like I said, it slows the language down. It helps them learn new words and new information. I still, from when I was in middle school, I think, I still know a song in German because we learned it as a song. It's a ridiculous, ridiculous song, but I know how to talk about a chicken because we learned it as a song. And I know how to say that my throat hurts in German because we learned it as a song. So it really kind of sticks with you. And some of my favorite ones, if you don't just know all the songs off the top of your head, Jane Cabrera has some books that are really, really good. So this one's Row, Row, Row Your Boat. And it does the regular verse, but then it goes through and it has all the different animals. So you can do the animal noises with it too. And so those are really, really fun. She's got lots of different kind of rhymes. Anything with like a sing song kind of thing is really, really good for that. Even the Chicka Chicka Boom Boom, that's really good. My other very favorites, Pete the Cat, he's so good. He's pretty much always got a song in there. I like the original ones the best, but that's just me. They're all pretty good, but I love the original ones best by Eric Litwin. And then James Dean is writing the others now, but it's all good. Let's see. So like I said, don't worry about your singing voice, just sing. Your child loves your voice. They don't care if you aren't exactly on pitch or you don't have the tune exactly right. I always try to do songs that are like to the tune of, but the words are different. But then I get confused halfway through and I know I'm singing a completely different tune. I just did a story time that is posted later this month where I did that with, I think it was supposed to be Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. And by the end of it, I was like, this is not at all what I'm singing, but it's still like, you can still get the rhythm of it and it's fine. So change your favorite songs by singing them fast or slow. That's really, really fun, where you can sing way up high or down low. I do that one a lot with the Itsy Bitsy Spider because he's itsy bitsy. And then you can do the great big spider and do a really deep voice for him. So that's really fun. It just kind of changes it up and makes it different. Itsy Bitsy Spider is also really fun because I do it itsy bitsy and then great big. And so we do it a few different ways. But I have also done it by singing it in your head. And because you're doing the motions with it, they can follow along with the motions. And you can even, use your mouth, but sing without actually singing it. And I have had a room completely full of 3 to 6 year olds, silent. And everyone is doing Itsy Bitsy Spider with me, and they're all singing it in their heads. So if you ever really need just a moment of quiet, you can try that. Just be like, sing Itsy Bitsy Spider in your head. So it's really fun, but changing it up is a really fun way to include songs and all. You can sing anytime. You can sing when you're changing diapers. You can sing during the bath. You can sing at dinner time. Another way that you can narrate your day is by singing it. Be like, now we're going to go to the store. And just, I told you my voice is not great, but so anytime. Learning the syllables, you can clap them. So twinkle, twinkle, little star. So they can hear all those separate parts and you learn how to break them apart, because when they are learning how to read and things like that, they're going to break those words apart and look at those different little pieces. So learning that words, have different sounds and different parts to them is important. Playing rhyming games is huge. Another one of Jan Thomas's books is the Rhyming Dust Bunnies, which is hilarious. I love that one. And they all rhyme except for like the last one. And he just does ridiculous things. That's really funny. But playing those rhyming words and finding words that rhyme is really fun. You can make simple instruments to play as you sing. And it can be anything. It can be, a bowl and a wooden spoon. You don't have that around. We play tummy drums a lot, which you just, drum on your tummy or drum on your shoulders, or drum on your head, drum on your knees. So you can make little instruments to make that fun. Make them interactive and dance along. We try to do dance parties a lot at the library, at home. We're always trying to get up and move and dance along with them. And in the car, it's really good. I know, like you were saying, audiobooks are really, really great. But if you can't find a book that you all want to listen to or something like that, just putting on music and singing along in the car is really good too. So we have lots of other resources at the library. 1,000 Books Before Kindergarten is really a great program. Early literacy calendar, our Missouri Building Block Award is really cool, and all of our library classes. We're going to talk about those real quick. So 1,000 Books Before Kindergarten, we have put online now. If you have one of the paper reading logs, you can still keep track on those. We have them at the library. We're not open for people to come in right now, unfortunately. But we have them. If you come and pick up books curbside and need one, we can get one to you easily. Or you can do it online at mylibrary.beanstack.org. That's the software that we used for our summer reading challenge this year. It's free. There's an app that you can put on your phone for it, and you can track all the books that you read. And in 1,000 Books Before Kindergarten, it's not 1,000 different books. It is just read 1,000 books. So if they have a favorite and they read it over and over and over and over again, you can count every time you read that. It's just about reading those books. So for every 100 books, they earn a badge in Beanstack, or they can get a sticker for the booklet. And then at 500, they get a prize. And at 1,000 books, they get a prize as well. So just a little incentive to do that. And, I've heard some people who are like, oh, can we really read 1,000 books before kindergarten? With my youngest, we took her in on her first birthday and got her 1,000 book prize. Because we read books. Like if we read 3 books at night, that's 3 books. So we're just always reading books. And then our early literacy calendar is really cool. Every month we come out with this, and it just has different activities that fit these 5 practices. So every day there's either reading, writing, talking, singing, or playing, and just a different activity that you can do with that. So I can see this one was April. I feel like I might have done April, but I could be wrong. I don't remember. We each branch gets to do it every month, and so sometimes I do them, and sometimes someone else does them. But like one of these that I can see for playing is jump in puddles, or play a board game, or sing in a different voice. So things like that, just little simple things that will help get kids ready for reading. And those are online. You can print a copy. It's www.mylibrary.org/growyourreader. And I could probably, if we have time at the end too, I can pull up our website and show you a couple of these things on the website too.
I was going to say, I know that our Parents as Teachers website links to, for sure, the 1,000 books before kindergarten.
Awesome.
I think we link to just the library site in general, and then we do the monthly book trails. I forget what it's called.
Oh my gosh, me too.
Julie, do you know what they're called? The parks, the books in the park. Yeah. Well, I'm so sorry.
Storybook walks.
Thank you.
Yes. Julie got it. Storybook walks. We have those linked. Woo, that was hard. Thank you, Julie.
Yes, I think those are so important, especially right now where people don't want to go places, but it is a really great way to go out and do something, and it's outside. There aren't a lot of people around. You get to walk around a park and then read a story as you go. So those are really, really cool. I love those. This one is the Missouri Building Block Picture Book Award, which I've actually been on the committee for this one for a few years, and I really, really love it. This teddy bear sticker on here, if you ever see one of these at the library, these are great books. And every librarian has their favorite every year. This particular one is not my favorite this year. It's not bad. It's a cute book. But what happens is every year, a bunch of librarians throughout Missouri read as many picture books as they can. And they decide on, I think it's their 30 favorite books. So they get it down to usually about 30. Sometimes it's a little more if they can't narrow it down any further. And then they get more librarians or teachers or, different people who interact with kids regularly, and they read them aloud to them. Because for this age group, these kids are going to be listening to these books instead of reading them themselves. So we want them to be really good read aloud books. So we have the listeners listen to them, and they get it down to the 10 nominees every year. And then we go out to preschools and send it to kindergartners. We try to get as many kids to read as many of these books as possible. And then the preschoolers are the ones who vote, and they decide the winner. So it's not the librarian saying, oh, this is my favorite book. It's preschool kids listening to the books, deciding which one is their favorite. So it's really, really cool. And all of the books are really, really good. But yeah, we have this little bear on the side of them. So if you're ever like, I just need a good book, I don't know what, look for that bear. I know Pete the Cat was one of them. Jan Thomas, I know she was nominated at least. I think that she could have won, but she had 2 really good books that year, and both of them were nominated, and so the votes got split. I know, I was so sad because we usually have them at a conference. We have the winner come to a conference and speak. And I was like, but Jan Thomas could have come. But there's some really, really good ones. Pout Pout Fish was one year. Llama Llama has won. So just some really, really good books. And library classes. Of course, we're not hosting in-person classes right now, but we have virtual classes for every age, from babies all the way up through adults. And they are pretty much every day. We still have, I think we have Tiny Tots or Baby Time. We have Baby Time and Fun for Ones and Time for Twos and our preschool story times. And we have like growing, I think we're calling it Growing Minds, which can be kind of anything. And so some of those are science themed. I have a gingerbread one coming up. I did Arctic animals recently. Some of them are art. So those are really, really cool. We have a Mr. Rogers program that we do also, which is really, really fun. So we use some clips from Mr. Rogers and really talk about, it's more kind of the emotional, like social emotional skills to get ready for school and things like that. So those are really great programs. We talk about, what to do if you're mad and, valuing art and things like that. So those are some really, really interesting ones. And then we just started lessons from letters. And so it'll be lessons from letter A or lessons from letter B. And so each week is a different letter and they focus just on that one letter. And then we'll go through the whole alphabet for that. So that's kind of a newer one. And then for our little ones, we're actually in the process of planning a baby ball, which we think will be really fun. So the babies can get all dressed up and then we're gonna have music and get the parents involved and stuff too. So we're trying really hard to reach people as much as we can and to provide services in this crazy, crazy time. So hopefully we'll get to see people back at the library really soon. But until then, we're gonna keep putting out programs as much as we can and hopefully people enjoy them. And that is the end of that presentation. So let me actually pull up our website really quick. And actually, you know what?
Shelly, while you're doing that, I was going to say I didn't even know about those Mr. Rogers classes. That's super cool. I love that you're adding that social emotional portion or that act of that. That's amazing.
All right, I don't know how to make it not be. Oh, wait, here it is. This should maybe, no, that's not going to do it. All right, I don't know if I can do it right now, but the website is mylibrary.org. And you can go on there and you can request books. You can look at all of our programs online. I don't know why. Like the presentation is stuck on presentation mode and I don't know how to get off of it. It's just so silly. Let me try one last time.
I was gonna say you might be able to choose like which window.
Yeah, here we go. Exit. That's it.
And those Jan Thomas books, 3 boys, and they have all loved What Will Fat Cats Sit On?
Yep. That's a good one.
She's one of my favorites. I like, and Mo Willems. I would read anything by him.
Yes, Mo Willems is great. I have I can go down the alphabet with my favorite authors and be like, okay, I love this one and this one and this one. And there are a bunch of them in the T through W's. There's Jan Thomas, there's Mo Willems, Karma Wilson. I love Karma Wilson. She does the bear books. So they're really, really cool.
Shelly, what was the name of that book again you mentioned as far as from Jan Thomas, the rhyming something or other?
Yes, the Rhyming Dust Bunnies. I'll pull that one up.
Dust Bunnies. Thank you.
It's really funny. The Rhyming Dust Bunnies. And it's like there's Ed, Ned, Fred, and Bob. And so then they're like, what rhymes with this? And they all rhyme. And then Bob goes, look out. And they're like, that doesn't rhyme. And then finally, they there's someone with a broom who comes and tries to get him, and then he gets him with a vacuum and sucks him up. And so it's funny. So yeah, they're just, that one's a really funny one too. And there's another one too that's
Sounds cute.
watch out for the, I don't know, there's like a big mean dust bunny, but they rhyme in that one too. So that one's fun. So that was our catalog. So you can look up books there. If you don't want to get on and request a bunch of books to go pick up curbside, you can call any branch and ask them to pull books for you. We're actually really enjoying that because it's something fun for us to do. And it's almost like a game where we have to like, okay, I got to pick the right books. And so you can say, you know, my kids really love dinosaurs and ballerinas and space, and I want 20 books. And so we'll go and we'll try and find some books, and they're probably not all going to be exactly on those themes, but we'll try and find them. And so I had one on Saturday that was an 11-year-old who wanted like 10 books, and she loved fantasy and historical fiction. And so those are the genres that I read, and I was so excited about it. And I was like, okay, I've got to put this one, I got to put this one, and I wonder if we have this one in today. And so I pulled them all, and then she called back after she got home, and she was like, it's like you know me. And I felt so good. So we really love doing that, actually. I text my neighbors, and I'm like, can I pick out books for your kids? Yeah.
I love that. That is awesome. I didn't know that you would do that. That's
absolutely.
You just don't know what you want.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. So our calendar is on here, and it's actually, it gets kind of overwhelming to look at sometimes. We're actually really trying to limit what we're doing. So these are all of our programs. They're all virtual, but you can see that the calendar is still really, really full. So
Fantastic.
I can limit it to children's, and it gets a little better, but we have homeschool programs for the older kids. Every once in a while we have live programs. Tomorrow night, just saying, Santa, we're going to be live on Facebook with Santa. He's going to be answering questions and stuff. So my daughter is super excited to call Santa tomorrow. That one's going to be super fun. So we just have all kinds of things. And then there's the lessons for Mr. Rogers, sharing and gratitude was what we did this week. And those we had done last year in person. And the person who's doing most of them is Mr. Jonathan from Spencer, who looks like Mr. Rogers as well. And he puts his cardigan on, and he's got the backdrop of like Mr. Rogers' house and everything. It's amazing. He does a really, really good job with them, and they're such fun programs. So I know we had a couple of questions. One of them was, at what age do kids really get interested in reading? I think it varies so much, and it depends on specifically what you're asking. I mean, my youngest is 20 months, and she's very interested in reading. She can't do it yet, but she's very, very interested in it. I think thinking back to when I was in school myself, I think first grade was around when I was really like, oh, I get to take a book home and I'm going to read it myself. But it depends again on the kid. Some of them, it takes them a little bit longer to get to that point. But as long as they're still practicing and they're trying to find books that work for them, you know, I think if they're having really, you know, big problems, you're going to notice that and find that. But just the interest level, it can kind of change. We actually try to tell parents that even those elementary kids who are reading graphic novels, that's okay, because they're still reading. It's not like it's a bad book. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just a different kind of book. And if it gets them interested in it, then from there they can go on to maybe more advanced books. But it's a way to get them reading and get them interested in books. So we don't see any problem with graphic novels. In fact, we're getting more and more and more of them in the library, and they're publishing more and more because people are really interested in them. And then the other one, I think, was about kindergarten and what you need to be ready for kindergarten or pre-kindergarten. And honestly, I can't answer that one really well. Because we're not teachers in the library, we don't know all of those really specific things, but I know some of it is like using scissors is something that's important. I'm trying to think about what what they talked about with my daughter. Like at 3.5, there are certain letter sounds that she still can't say, and they're okay with that. We've done the screening. I talked to Miss Melissa this morning, guys. She's my parents as teachers person. And so we talked this morning, and last time we saw her, she did a screening because she is hard to understand, and I wind up translating a lot for her. But again, that's just kind of one of those developmental things that they kind of get. We talked about, at about 4 years old, she should be able to, recognize her name and write her name. We gave her a really long name, so she's gonna have to practice that. But so different things like that. But I don't know all of the really specifics. And one program that we talk about a lot is starting a kindergarten readiness program and working on that. We haven't quite gotten there yet, but I know it's something that the library would like to do. But I know that parents as teachers can probably give a lot of those really specific, like, these are the skills you need to have, and these are the benchmarks and things like that. So, and in a couple of years, I'm pretty sure I'll know more about those too, as my girls get a bit older. But so yeah. Does anybody have any other questions? I know that was kind of a lot of information, but really the thing to remember is those 5 practices: reading, talking, writing, singing, playing. If you're doing those with your kids, you're getting them ready to be readers. So just those 5 practices is pretty important.
I have a question.
Yeah.
To me. So my family does not have a library card, and now with COVID, I have no idea what the process is.
Just give us a call. What we'll do,
okay,
we can do it curbside, and basically they'll make your card, and then you just show them your ID to verify it, and we'll get you a card. And you can also go online and get a temporary card. So you
okay.
Yeah, you can sign up for one online, get a temporary card. I think I can't remember if it's good for 3 months or 30 days. I think it's 3 months. And so that gets you can check out, you can do all the online stuff. Programs you can do without a card. You don't need a card for that anyway. But then you just call the library and do curbside, and they'll just verify it and get you a permanent card. So it's pretty easy. We just need to see proof of address, really, that you're in.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Shelley, is there a maximum number of families that can be involved in an activity? Like,
awesome, thank you.
Looking here, like you're on Sunday, you had all day lessons for the letter F. Is there a maximum number of families that can be a part of each class?
Some of them. Most of our programs are recorded. They're not live. So anyone can get on and watch that one. And actually, they're available all day long. And they're usually available for 30 days after this. So next month, someone could come back and still watch this if they hadn't seen it before. In fact, these will probably leave on even longer, so that if you start with letter Z, you can still go back and watch all of the alphabet and get through it all. But then if it has usually an underline underneath it, that is one that you would need to register for. So I know on this one, this is a live homeschool program that they're doing. And so they limit that one, I think, to 25 people. So a lot of times if they're doing it live, they limit it just because that live can get kind of overwhelming with kids if you have 100 kids logged on there or something. And then when we have programs in the branch, we'll put limitations on them sometimes just because of supplies. In fact, actually, I think this one, they have a kit that goes along with this one. They're making calendars. And so this is something that we just started recently. We're calling it a take and make. So you can actually go to the library, call us up for curbside. We will give you a kit with supplies to make the activity. And so then you can have that with you while you're watching the class. That's another reason that we would limit it to a certain amount so that we could have those supplies for them. But most of them are open to anyone. Especially if they're recorded, then, there's no reason to limit that at all. So.
And you guys did away with fees, didn't you? Late fees?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm so happy about it. That's one of the positives of COVID, I think. Like we were getting to that point, and then COVID happened, and we were like, well, we can't charge people fines right now because they can't bring their books back. So they just canceled them for everybody. And then finally they were like, all right, well, let's just not turn them back on. Yes. So if you keep the book out for like months and months, you still get charged for the item. But if you have it out for a few days, there's no overdue fines. And even if you bring it back within a certain amount of time, like if they send you the bill for the item and you bring it back, there would be no charge for it. So that's pretty cool. I'm so happy we did that. That's my favorite thing. I used to just waive fines. Like people would come in and I would see their card and like they'd have a small little fine and I would just like waive it and not even say anything. It just made me feel so good. Yeah.
I mean, it kept me away from the library I am terrible with deadlines like that. And I will have them in my car ready to go. And then I just live with them in the car.
I go to the library every day and I couldn't get my books back on time. So like, it just.
I feel better then.
Yes. Yes. Like it happens to librarians a lot, actually. Like we're there every day and I like get halfway there and I'm like, oh, I left the books at home. Okay. So yeah, it happens. And we don't want anyone not coming to the library because they have a fine from books that came back late. So no more fines.
Well, thank you so much, Shelley. I learned so much and I will definitely, nobody else needs to know that. That's our dog. So thank you so much for joining us and
you're welcome.
We utilize the library again, parents as teachers, we utilize the library a ton. So we will continue to share the good news. And I will also say our next virtual parent group is actually tomorrow night, and it is with Mercy Pediatrics and Sleep Techs. They are talking about toddler sleep, young children's sleep, and a little bit of adolescent sleep. So if that is you, that will be a good one to go to tomorrow night. So you can find more information on our website. All right. And I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. I love parents as teachers.
Thanks, Shelley. Appreciate it.
Thank you.